A very happy new year to you all and welcome once again to PENSDOWN. On this platform, we sit with journalists, they put their pens down and then they talk to us. They are the news, not the reporters on this platform. They tell us all they go through with regard to their professional work, the challenges, the high moment, the exciting times, and some of the breaking points they've had to endure to ensure that they bring to us some of the most exciting stories we hear all over the place. Today, I have a gentleman with me. He's the latest recipient of the Professional Excellence Award from the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in the United States. He is an international multimedia journalist with over 15 years professional experience across media platforms in Ghana, the Republic of Congo, and the United States. Currently based in New York City, he started his career as an intern at one of Ghana's top-rated radio stations, Joy FM, where he earned on-air presence within weeks. He has since worked as a television news anchor and producer in Ghana and the Republic of Congo, as well as a writer and editor for print and online portals in Ghana and the United States. He is a product of the Ghana Institute of Journalism, University of Ghana, and Adelphi University in the United States. He has a reputation for delivering incisive live reports and covering major events. He is skilled in copywriting, audiovisual editing, and production, which he weaves seamlessly with his great storytelling abilities to produce visually compelling documentaries and news reports. My guest today is my own friend, brother, and cosmate, Nii Akrofi Smart-Abbey. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you, Steve, and Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, my brother. Where have you been? We've been looking all over the place for you.
Oh, well, you just said it. I'm currently in New York, so that's where I've been hiding for a while.
Right. And so for all these years that you've been in journalism, has there ever been a break? Have you done anything away from journalism since you graduated from GIJ in 2006?
Oh, yeah. I've done so many different things. I think on the side, yes. On the side. I think we graduated 2006, right? And then I think 2008, I believe, I joined Roverman Productions. So I've been acting with them. I was acting with them between 2008, actively between 2008 and 2011, I think.
Okay.
Before I started working in TV. So, yeah. And then when I started working in TV actively, I took a break from acting because it's TV. TV is a lot of work.
Yes.
At one point, there was that conversation between me and my boss at the time about which image you are presenting to your audience, because they see you on screen as the news person, as a straight-faced, serious person, and then the next minute they see you acting, you are doing different characters and all that. So I think actually that conversation even happened when I was in the middle of shooting a series with Shirley Frimpong, so Peep. So I had to take a break from Peep, take a break from the stage as well. Yeah. What else did I do between then and now? Yeah, I think mostly. And then, when I came to the US while I was in graduate school, I was doing journalism, but not as an everyday thing. I moved more towards marketing, communications, and advertising for the school, because I was with the school's communications office. So I was doing that and freelancing on the side. Yeah.
You went on internship in 2005 to Joy FM, and in less than 2 months you were already reading the news. How did you do that?
It's interesting because when you were reading the intro, which is a brilliant intro anyway, can I borrow it?
At a cost, I will.
Look at you. When you were reading the intro, it came back to me because seriously, back in 2005, when I went to Joy, interns were not allowed to even do voiceovers for our own reports. The seniors, if I put it that way, our seniors at the time, if your story happened to be a story that required a report, you do the report, but then the seniors will voice it for you.
Okay.
But in my case, I'd say it was a lot of preparation even before Joy FM that got me there, because I think it was whilst I was in SS high school, I used to record myself because I fancied myself becoming a broadcaster one day, not a news broadcaster, not a news anchor, just like the Dorinandos and the drive time people. So, but then I realized I was beginning to get more interested in the news also. So whilst I was in high school, I would record myself. I'm sure my mom would be angry because she realized a lot of her tapes went missing. I would take the cassette, put it in the tape, and then pretend I was reading the news on BBC. So I would say, like, welcome to Focus on Africa with Nii Akrofi Smart-Abbey. The time is 1500 GMT, that kind of thing, that routine. So I would record. If I liked it, then it means it was good. If I didn't like it, I'll record over that one and keep the ones that I thought were good. So I'd been doing that for 3 years in high school. Then the Joy FM gig came along, and it just happened that one weekend, it was myself and Atukwame Nadazi in the newsroom at the time. And he had a few stories that required voiceovers, and he had done some. Typically, when you're reading the news, you're not supposed to have a report that has your voice in it, as your voiceover. So, but he had done some. One of my colleagues at the time, Vida Ampofo, who was an online journalist, had also done a few voiceovers for him. And then he had one last report, but Vida had already gone home, and it was just he and I in the studio. So he came to me, he said, "Nii, can you read?" And I knew immediately where he was going to. And I said, "Yes, I can read." And he said, no, I'm not talking about read. I know you read the stories and everything. I mean, can you read? You know how dramatic
That's
right. Yes, I can read. And he said, "Okay, so go and try this voiceover for me, and I'll come and listen to it, and we'll see what to do after that." So I went into the booth, one shot, recorded. I didn't need to do twice. I read through the script before getting into the booth, so I was okay with it. Just gave it a one-shot recording. He came, he listened to it, he liked it, and he put it on air. Traditionally, he's going against the norm because interns are not supposed to be voicing their reports, but he did it for me. I don't know why, but he did it, and I'm happy he did. And the news editors at the time, Matilda Santi and Kofi Usu, I think they called me on Sunday morning or afternoon. I can't remember where I was. I think it was either at home or when I went back into the office on Sunday. They called. They said they heard me read. They congratulated me. They thought it was good. And then I think in that same week, either on the Monday or later in that week, they told me Sena Toklo, who was the one who was mostly on the night shift, he read the bulletin for the night shift. He was going back to school and he won't be available for most of the evening. So they asked if I was interested in taking up the night shift to be reading the bulletins. And I said, sure, I don't mind. I mean, it's an opportunity I've been waiting for, but of course I had to pretend, like, oh, do you really mean it? But inside I was screaming, yes, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. But then, of course, I told them we had to clear it with my mom because it was the night shift. I wasn't driving. I didn't have a car. And the night shift ended at midnight. So we need to talk to my mom to see what the logistics would be. They were like, no, don't worry, we'll drop you off. There's a car that will drop you off at home and all that. So I took it, and that's how it started for me, my own present.
Wow.
Yeah.
But journalism generally, was it a dream profession come true, or you got inspired at a point by somebody who was in the fields, or probably you were pressured into choosing that?
Inspired, yes. Pressured, no. Dream, no.
Okay.
Back when I was a kid, one of my uncles told me Francisca Teodonto at GTV was, yes. I was related to her. We're like family. I think we're first or second or third cousins. I can't remember which one they said.
Okay.
But I liked watching her read the news every evening. I watched news only on weekends. I watched TV only on weekends, and I would see her read, and I enjoyed it. And I told my uncle one day I'll read the news like Francisca on TV.
Whoa.
But at the time, I mean, that was just something you say when you were like, what, 5, 6 years old. And that was that. And then as I went through school, I was one of those people who couldn't decide what you wanted to be. Today, I want to be a dentist. Tomorrow, I want to be I wanted to be everything but a doctor and a lawyer. Those two I didn't want.
No, that was strange because doctor, lawyer were normally the recurring decimal with a lot of kids growing up.
Yep. But not for me. I don't know why.
Then your own case is strange or is unique.
I guess so.
Yes.
Well, lawyers, because someone told me when I was a kid that lawyers are buried face down in the coffin. And someone told me this weird story of how a lawyer's grave was dug up years after he died, and they found him face down, not only face down because he was buried face down, but then they found that his hands were tied behind his back and he had been whipped and all that. And I was like, no. If I'm going to go to hell, at least let me just go to hell alone, but not suffer and show that I've been in hell in the flesh as well, even though I'm dead. So that scared me off lawyers. Doctor, I liked knowing what was in the human body. So I thought of a surgeon, but not of a doctor.
Okay.
And then one day we had career fair in junior high school, and someone told us, oh, there's a shortage of dentists, but there's bungalows for the dentists. So if you guys want, you should try thinking about it. So I started thinking of dentistry in my final year in high school. Junior high school. That was what I really wanted to do. But then my math wasn't that good. So I went to high school, did general arts, and then I started wondering, okay, so what can I do? But then I was in the drama club at disco. So I started writing poetry and everything in my first year. And I was like, oh, this feels good. This, I like this thing. And so I was writing, did that through my 2.5 years in a disco. And I finished at disco and I didn't know what to do. My mom was like, so are you going to go to Legon? I said, no, I don't know what I'm going to do at Legon. I like French and I wouldn't mind doing French, reading French at Legon, but that was it. I didn't know what to do with the French even. So I spoke to a senior of mine ahead of me in a disco, and I asked him, I want to become a writer. What do I do? Where do I go to school to become a writer? And he was by then in GIJ. So he said, well, at GIJ, they teach you to become a journalist, but then it's all boils down to writing. So if you want to, you can come to GIJ, learn how to write, and then after that, go ahead and become the writer that you want to be. And that senior, I don't know, you probably would know him, Archibald Adams. He was at GBC, yes. So I spoke to him and he gave me the idea that you could go to GIJ. My mother really didn't like it because, parents, they think once you come out of high school straight, you should go to the university. But here I was saying, no, I don't want to go to the university because I don't know what I'm going to do with my life after the university. And GIJ looked like, okay, we could do that. I even wanted to join the Writers Bureau in London because they taught fiction and all other forms of
creative writing and the rest.
Creative writing, exactly. But then I didn't have the money to do that too. So I said, okay, then GIJ is what we'll do. So it was more, journalism to me was more like an accidental thing that I stumbled upon and fell in love with it as I was doing it. And 16, 17 years later, I'm still doing it.
Wow.
I really didn't plan it.
Wow. When you go to Joy FM during your internship, some of the greatest materials or broadcasters in the system were then available in the newsroom or at the station.
Yeah.
How did that shape your professional life?
It did greatly shape my profession because I remember the very first day I went there, I was so intimidated. I was supposed to work on the Super Morning Show and Kamla was sitting right across from me in the studio, and I was sitting in the studio at next. The late Kamla, when I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting across from Kamla. And I thought that was what I was going to do, become a production assistant. Then the show ends at 10. And then Stan Dogbe comes and pulls me and says, okay, so you're done here. You're going to the newsroom. And I was like, what? Newsroom? What? No, I thought I was going to be producing the morning show. Then I went to the newsroom and they were having their morning meeting. And everybody was so serious around we had a big oval desk. Everybody was so serious behind the desk. And I was like, no, I think I made a wrong choice. I took a wrong turn. I shouldn't be here. No, this is not where I'm supposed to be. But that was where I ended up. And I remember very well, they finished the meeting and they gave me my very first assignment to cover a press conference by Abantu for Development.
Okay.
So I went. My senior at the time, Bennett from Bonn, dropped me off because he was on his way to Parliament. And Abantu's press conference was somewhere around where the National Service Secretariat's regional office or headquarters is. So I had to go over there. And he dropped me off. I was shaking in my boots because I had, in class we were taught, but we didn't have the practical aspect of it. So in my head, I know what I have to do for a press conference, but I've never really been in a press conference situation. But I went in, came back, did my report as if I did the report. I wrote a very long report. Sami Wenchi looked at it and he was like, no, this is radio. We don't do this. This is for those who are at graphic. And no, this is not. So he came, changed it, made it into an intro and a report. And he, of course, he voiced the report because I wasn't allowed to do that back at the time. So he did that. So then the next day, you go to one assignment after the other. And I started learning. I'm the type who is visual. I like to learn as I watch people do what they do. So I started learning from them. Some of the things, of course, you'll be told what to do, which helped. But a lot of the other things that I do today are things I just picked up from people by watching them. Even like the recordings I did, because back then I listened to BBC a lot, BBC radio. So that was how I learned to read. And so that was what I did. And I took Kwamnadazi, for instance, taught me the essence of being concise in your intro for the radio scripts. He said you have just about 30 to 45 seconds to hold whoever is listening to you. You don't want to bore them to death. So straight to the point with your first line, summarize it in about another 2 or 3 sentences, and that's it, unless you're doing a report. I learned from him, learned from Bennett, learned from Matilda, learned from Kofi Owusu, learned from everybody else in the newsroom. And that's how I learned.
You felt intimidated, for instance, seeing Kobla Dumo in the same room with you or sitting across the same table with you. But did anybody also intimidate you? Now, we are looking at you being intimidated. That is being starstruck, more or less. Exactly. And did any of them, during your interaction, also come across as intimidated personally?
No, it was just my 18, 19-year-old brain that felt intimidated by everybody. I think for the first week, at least, I would say I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. Because these are people I've been listening to 24. I listen to Joy 24 hours a day. Well, that's assuming I don't sleep. But Joy was the station I always listened to. So these are people that in my head were like my best friends, people I would sit down and drink tea with and chat the whole day. But then meeting them in person felt completely different. It felt like, wait, who is this? The person has the name that I know, but do I really know the person? Because then that was what it boiled down to. So personally, they didn't go out of their way to intimidate me. It was just me feeling, I guess, starstruck and being intimidated at the same time, because these are legends in the profession. And here I am, 18, or I think I was 18 or 19 at the time. And I'm like, okay, these people have done everything there is to do under the sun when it comes to radio. And here I am, I don't even know my left from my right. I'm still learning how to write a radio script. So it was just more of me feeling, and is it undervalued? No, I don't think that's the word. more like it was just me feeling like, okay,
A
I
fish
shouldn't
out
be
of the
here.
water, so more or
Exactly. I
less.
don't fit. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
Meeting people like Fred Afonyo, who was teaching me how to do business reports. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, this is nice, but still, I just didn't feel it. Yeah.
How easily did it take you to settle in after all these initial moments of discomfort and uneasiness? How easily did you settle in and accept the reality that, hey, this is what is happening? I have to either drink deep or I don't taste at all. So let me go all out and give it my best.
I think by the end of the first week, I was getting a bit settled because by then I was working a lot more with everybody. Matilda was editing my stories. Kofi was editing my stories. I was finally able to start speaking when we do the newsroom meetings. Like I said, Fred was helping. I think by the end of the first week, I had done one assignment for business and Fred had helped me through it. And Eloy Monday was like, he was really nice. He was my best friend at the time. Like, yeah, we were both young. And Eva Autry was also there. She was on the sports desk as well. So I didn't interact with them as much, but Eloy and I, whenever there was a downtime, we would sit and chat. And then Kojo Aponkroma joined, I think in my second month at Joy. And he was coming also from UCC. So it became easier and easier for me because I realized, there may be legends here, but then there are also young people like Eloy, like Ava, Kojo is joining. And then there was Evans Mensah, who was also an intern there. There was Alex Kobna Mensah. There was Nana Asante. So, and there was a lot of young people also at the online department. So then by my second week, I started easing into it, accepting that, okay, so yeah, I'm not the only intern here. There were a few others here. So yeah, you might as well just, if the newsroom is so intimidating to you, then at least gravitate towards these younger ones and be friendly with them and learning from them. Yeah.
So by the time your experience with Joy FM, not multimedia general, with Joy FM ended, what were the two lessons that you picked which have become undertones professionally that keep stirring you on as you move?
I think one of them, without a doubt, is how to break down a story, which is one of the first things I took Kwamna taught me. I remember very well, I went for this, was it a parliamentary or a Pan-African meeting at a hotel somewhere in East Legon? Came back confused because you know how these technocrats do. They go and they use all their technical jargons. And I came back not understanding anything. And of course, I had their press release, but I didn't want to write a story based off their press release. So Ato was the one with me at the time. And I said, Ato, this is what I've written, but that is all I can write because that's all I really understood from what was said there. How else do I go about this story? And he said, okay, so pretend you went back home from work today and your 5-year-old nephew or niece came to you and he said, hey, Anthony, what did you do today at work? What are you going to tell them? Let's say this is the only assignment you've done for the day. This is the only assignment you went out to. How are you going to explain this story to that 5-year-old or 6-year-old nephew or niece of yours? And I said, well, I'll tell them I went to this press conference. They said this and that and that. And now I can't remember what it was because it's been so many years. But I told him the highlights of what I understood. And he said, yeah, so that's your story, essentially. Remember, you don't need to write in a technical language because half of the people listening to us are not politicians or whatever technocrats these people were. They're just regular people like you and I. They need to understand what event you went to cover. They need to understand what was the important points of what it was you covered. So that is it. Write what you know, but make it simple and straight to the point. So that was the first thing. That's the first thing I would say off the bat that I learned in my time at Joy FM, to tell the story as in its simplest form. And The other one I would say was the essence of hard work. That hard work actually pays off.
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to originally have done the internship for just the month of September. If you remember, we were told you do 1 month here and 1 month there.
That's right.
So I was supposed to have done just 1 month at Joy FM and the second month at Graphic Showbiz.
Okay.
But then Joy kept me for the second month because that was, of course, when I started reading the news.
Yes.
Then after that came a contract that, do you mind being a weekend staff for us? Because we need people, we're sometimes understaffed on the weekends.
Were you still a student when that contract came?
Yes. We had just done our first year GIG.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this was, I'm talking November 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got the contract. So I would be in GIG from Monday to Friday. And then Friday, when we closed from school, I stayed till, I think my shift started at 2 or 4 o'clock. I'm not quite sure. Okay. But I stay in GIG till that time. And then I take the transport to Circle and then just walk from Circle to Joy FM. And then work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow.
And yeah. And then by doing so, gradually I started seeing that, okay, my learning and my hard work is paying off because I wasn't only reading the news on the night shift anymore. When Jifa Bampo came, Jifa the whole Bampo, when she joined the team also, she was doing news night. Then I was made to be the technical producer in studio, which is something Sami Yuenchi was doing for a long time. So Sami Yuenchi taught me how to man the console, how to patch the calls through. I learned that not knowing that I was going to ever do that. I learned that from Sami Yuenchi. And then I was also given the chance to start reading the news summaries on Newsnight, which was a big deal because Newsnight was heard all over the country.
Yes.
It was a 6 o'clock bulletin. Yeah.
That's true.
So that opportunity also came. And I was like, okay. So this means I need to work extra. I need to learn extra.
And then Newsnight had a big competitor also with another station. They had a program that also aired about the same time around the Newsnight. So it meant that everybody needed to put their best foot forward.
Exactly. And that's why I said I learned the essence of hard work and being committed to what you're doing. Because if I wasn't that good, I don't think who was reading the bulletin, the summaries before? Someone was reading the summaries before me. I can't remember for some strange reason, but I feel like if I wasn't putting my best foot forward, as you just said, they wouldn't have given me the chance to be the one reading the summaries. They would have just said, sit behind the console and push the buttons for them to do it. But then that role came to me and I would be behind the console, open my own mic, read, kill my mic, open Jife's mic. And I was doing all of that, playing the jingle, playing everything, playing the commercials. So by the time I left Joy FM, I realized, okay, I have the potential. If I just decide that, if I just add the will to learn, there's nothing that I cannot learn. And Joy FM has shown me that if you're ready to learn, they are ready to give you the opportunity to do it. So those I would say were the top 2 things for me.
So for 1 year until you completed, you were contract staff with Joy FM. Am I right? Yes. How did the shuffle between academics and that weekend job make you a better version of yourself? Or how did one affect the other? I want you to look at it both ways.
How did one affect the other? I wouldn't say it affected it so much because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was the type of student who would wait till the last minute when exam starts tomorrow to start learning today.
Very typical.
So in terms of academics, I would say it really affected it that much, but it kind of helped if any case at all, because if there was an assignment that I didn't understand, there was always the opportunity to run it by anybody in the newsroom. I could talk.
Okay.
Evans was a degree student at the time.
Yes.
I was in the
Yes.
diploma program.
That's right.
So I could run it by Evans or Alex and say, oh, Charlie, they gave us this assignment. I don't understand. What do they want? And I remember I even had to ask Matilda to help me understand one assignment they gave us at one point in time. So if anything, I'd rather say it helped working at Joy over the weekend and being in school than it hindered. And yeah, I'd say it helped. And how, in terms of shaping, yeah, it really did help also. It helped and it helped because we were having a lot of theoretical things. Oh, in broadcast, this is what you do. This is what you do. And this is what you... But on the weekend, guess what? I get the chance to practice what we were just taught in class. Wow. So if they're teaching us like about sound editing or whatever, well, I am actually editing the sound. I'm not just trying to imagine what it is to edit sound or put a radio piece together. I was actually doing it on the weekends. So yeah, I think it helped.
That means you were a teenager when you learned the art of depriving yourself of social life.
Yes. Yes. And because of that, for a long time, I never had social life. That may be the downside of it, but I guess I got used to it. So it was like, for me, it was more about the work, which is bad. Of course, you have to strike a balance. But I felt I wasn't deprived also because whilst I was at GIJ, I felt I had the blast when I was on campus. We would talk, we would chat, we would laugh. Right. I'll play the fool with everybody. Because I think Thelma and I were about the babies in the class at the time. So, yeah, so when I'm on campus, I have a social life as far as I'm concerned. When I'm at home, I have a social life as far as I'm concerned. So why not? Just deprive yourself for just Friday, Saturday, Sunday for a few hours. And that's it. Yeah.
Wow. How did you end up with Uncle Ebo White's Roverman production? Were you tempted into it or you approached him for a role?
I did. Well, remember I just told you I was in the drama club in a disco. So I was already acting. And as I said, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life after a disco. So I did GIJ. Then because I moved on to the night shift, occasionally when Uncle Ibu comes to record his Food for Thought, when he's not able to come in the morning, he will come and record the previous night. So I will be there and I'll see him. But then again, I felt intimidated. I wouldn't be able to talk to him as much. So when in 2008, he decided to revive, well, at the time, he wasn't even thinking of forming a group, but he just made an open casting call that, I have a play coming up on Happy Wives. And did he name it? No, I don't think, but he just said he had a play coming up. And if anyone was interested in acting, then the person can audition. So that Saturday, I think I was off that Saturday. I didn't have to work, but I had a gig to cover something at the British Council for a friend. So I subcontracted that gig to somebody else. Went to audition for Uncle Ebo White. And when I went there, he said, "Oh, Nii, you are here." I said, "Yes." He said, "Are you tired of the news already?" I said, no, not really. But, I also like acting and I want to try. So we just had a conversation for a while. And he said, "Okay, I hear you. You hear from me if you get selected." I said, "Okay, thank you." And, oh, no, wait. I did go to the British Council early in the morning, did the gig, and then moved to ATTC to audition for Uncle Ebo. And then I went home and I was just like 200 meters from my house when I got a call. And it was one of Uncle Ebo's assistants at the time. And he said, Uncle Ebo has shortlisted you. You are among a few who were shortlisted. So he will see you tomorrow at the same venue.
Just like that.
Okay, just like that. And the next day I showed up and I was given a script for Unhappy Wives, Confused Husbands. And that was it. That's how it started.
How long were you with them?
I would say I think in all, I was with them even till the very end, till 2018 before I left Ghana. I was
Oh,
still,
okay.
I would still consider myself a part of the group, but I wasn't on stage throughout.
Okay.
Like I said, I stopped going on stage by 2011 because I had started TV and there was that conflict of selling a TV persona and character and all that. But then somewhere, I think after 2013, 14, I would go back occasionally. I'll get to act mostly at the end of the year when we do the Festival of Plays. I would do some of my old plays. And then I think I got 2 new roles before 2015. When I left Ghana in 2016, I got 1 or 2 new roles. Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
So in all, yes.
Multimedia introduced their television along the line while you were there.
Yeah.
You also had a time with the TV arm before eventually leaving the multimedia stables. How was your experience at the television arm of multimedia? I know definitely a lot of the faces you had worked with in radio were those you were going to meet at the TV arm. But of course, TV has the benefit of a visual, projection. How was the experience with television too?
TV, I will admit, I thought TV was easier because, of course, they make it look easy when you watch the news or whatever. They're just sitting there talking and laughing and kiki, that's it. Or just sitting straightforward and reading the news. So I thought it was going to be easy, but it was, I would say, it was the most challenging but most fun of the experiences I've had as well.
Okay.
TV came across to me at the time when I left Joy in 2007 to go back to do my degree, my bachelor's at Legon.
Yeah.
And whilst there, I was working for a newspaper. So I was not doing radio. I hadn't done TV. I had done radio. I was now doing print. And one of my friends who was back in GIG at the time, Gertrude Davidson, she was producing. Kojo had then moved on. I think he was now host of the morning show, I think, Kojo Okonkroma. And he had just gotten a TV show as well. And Getty was one of his producers.
Okay.
So because she knew me and she knew I was reading on radio, so she started saying, oh, she would disturb me. Oh, Nii, are you free? Come and do voiceover for me. Come and do voiceover for me. So I would do it. And I didn't think anything about it. But at the time, a friend also at TV3 had told me, oh, TV3 is looking for new anchors and stuff. So come and speak to Miss Emma Morrison and see if she can give you a position. So I had spoken to her and she said she would get back to me, but she hadn't. Then one day I went to do the regular voiceovers for Kojo's show, and Kenashibe, who was my manager then at radio, apparently had moved to TV. I didn't know because I had tuned it out. I was busy with school. And Ken saw me. The girls, Getty said, oh, Ken is there if you want to say hello. So I went up, said hello to him. He asked me what I was doing. I told him. He said, but have you thought of TV? I said, yeah, I'm waiting for a call from TV3 to join their team. And he said, but wouldn't you like to work with us? I said, I don't mind. I mean, TV is TV. I just want to get the experience.
That's right.
So he said, okay, we're about to launch a news arm. So if you want to, I can talk to the HR and then you can interview for that. So that was how I joined. And guess what? The first month I joined TV in April 2011, my boss at the time was already pregnant.
Okay.
Marianne. So she was due to go on maternity leave, I think in May or June. And the channel was also expected to launch by June, July. So here I was, a novice at TV, knew nothing about TV. I didn't even know if you say anything about cameras, zilch. I knew nothing about it. Talk about production. I had an idea because I was producing at radios, but I didn't know what went into TV production. I had no idea. And Marianne was about to go on maternity leave, so I had to learn real quick from her what to do, because essentially the channel was on my laps for like 2-3 months when she was on maternity. I was managing a news channel when I had no idea what TV was, let alone managing a TV news channel was. So I managed, but I was great. I'm grateful to my seniors at the time. No, the other channel managers. That Abdullah was the overall TV manager. Then I had help from people like Eugene Odami, who was a lecturer at NAFTI, but had come over to multi-TV to work. So I would trouble him a lot because he was in charge of production. So I would go to him, Eugene, we have to do this. At the time, I was only producing PM Express with Nii Akrofi. And there were times my guests would cancel at the last minute and I have no idea what to do. So I'll go to Eugene. I say, Eugene, what do I do? This person canceled, this, that. So I was just leaning on all of them. Fred Amwan, Eugene, Abdullah, Nana, just learning from them, telling them to help me for that first 3 months. That's why I said TV was my most challenging, because I was thrown in hoping I was now going to learn the ropes. And then I was thrown in like in a month or two, my boss leaves me and I'm on my own. And I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do? And I was lucky also to have it was just like 4 of us at the time. But luckily for me, the other 3 were coming from a TV background. They had worked in TV for years. So if I didn't even know outside of managerial stuff, they would help me with everyday, day-to-day production. But then when it comes to making managerial decisions, then I would go to the other channel managers. So I had to learn. I had like a crash course in TV. I had to learn everything quickly. And when Marianne came back, she was like, oh, we are starting this new show called Caucus and you are going to host it. So not only am I having a crash course and learning what to do for TV, now I had to prepare myself to go on air, to be hosting a political
consistently,
talk show.
She was fully persuaded that setting you up all the time was going to bring out the best in you.
I think so. I think either that or she was just the best risk takers, thinking that, don't worry, it will work out. It will work out. So I don't know, honestly. I don't know how I survived TV, but I'm happy I learned quickly. I'm happy, like I said, I learned visually. So being in the control room, being behind the computer, doing a program rundown and everything, I had to learn all those quickly. And it came in handy.
So how long did you do TV with multimedia?
I was there from 2011 till the end of 2015. So that's about 4 years. And then I went to Congo and still did TV from 2016 to 2018. So, I think 7 years.
Okay, so talking about this, your movement to Congo, were you put on the transfer market like some footballer? Or how did all this, or how did this your movement, your Pan-African movement, how did it come about?
It was sheer luck and good timing and God's grace, because a friend, one of my best friends in TV, Abla D'Souza, she saw the post for African News at the time.
I think she was doing My Community, or?
Yes, My Community, yeah.
Yes, I remember.
So she saw the post, but then it said they were going to broadcast in French and English. So applicants should have a working knowledge, at least, I think they said, of French. And my degree is my first degree actually is in French and sociology from Lagos.
Okay.
So she said, okay, here, you say you speak French every day. So here, there's a job, take this French. And we laughed about it. And I wasn't even going to apply, but she kept asking me every day, have you applied? Have you applied? Have you applied? I got tired of her asking me every day, have you applied? So I just applied and forgot about it. And I think a day or two after the application, I got an email saying, oh, the team is already in Ghana. We are doing interviews. So we would like to set up an interview with you. So I went to Novotel, met the editorial manager at the time. I interviewed, and I wasn't even sure how it went. I thought, these people, they'll come and interview you, and then like any typical job, you talk, and that's it. You don't get a call back. Yeah. But I got a call back either it wasn't the same day. I think the very next day or 2 days later, the HR lady called and said, "Oh, we are happy to give you an offer. So this is what you have to do. Make sure you get the visa for Congo, and we'll take care of the rest when you get there." So I wasn't technically put on the transfer market. I chased after the transfer market based on a recommendation from.
That's right. Now, moving outside your country of birth, be it for studies or for work, is a big decision with far-reaching consequences.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I mean, we are talking about accommodation. We are talking about even your ability to navigate and also melt into the system seamlessly. And who even is going to be your eye there so that you can acquaint yourself with the system. I mean, how easily did you come to a conclusion on all these decisions such that you were fully persuaded that, okay, so to Congo, I want to go?
Oh, it was very much easy for me. One, because I love traveling, thanks to my mom.
Okay.
She is a traveler. I think I got the love of traveling from her. So I love traveling already. And I had studied French. And I graduated Legon in 2010 and I went to Congo in 2016. So for like 5 years, I was never practicing my French. And I was like, so why did I spend all this money to learn this new language, which, by the way, I had learned throughout my education because I did French also in other school and everything. So I'm like, I've studied this language because I wanted to learn it and speak it well. And I'm sitting in Ghana speaking every day in English. So what's the point? And this is an opportunity for me to go and live in a French-speaking country, practice my French every day, even though I will broadcast in English. But I'm sure I will get colleagues who are the French speakers. And then there's the everyday French speakers in Congo. So for me, it was a no-brainer at the time. I was like, let's go. Congo, we go.
Wow.
I did think about accommodation and all that. I thought about what it will mean to leave home. But then I was like, what's the point also in staying home if there's this opportunity? Opportunities come but once, we always say in Ghana. And I had always wanted to have an experience. At the time, by 2015, I was already beginning to, I think I had suffered enough burnout that I was thinking of giving up on journalism. Okay. So I was like, okay, before I quit journalism, let me just go try the international market, see what it is like. Even if I do it for just 1 year, at least I can say, I tried being an international journalist for a year. It worked or it didn't work or whatever. So for me, it was a gamble I was ready to take. Yeah.
How many years were you there in Congo and how did it go?
2.5 years, I think. Yeah, 2.5 years. It went well. I mean, of course, there were the ups and the downs. It wasn't your typical newsroom situation as we have in Ghana, because we broadcast in English, so everyone works on their own. Yeah. But this was a new system I had to get used to, where journalists were paired. So for every story that I did, I had to work with a French-speaking journalist. So sometimes there were delays that made me feel a bit uncomfortable. But I was like, well, that is the system. So you have to, as you make your beds, so you lay in it, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah.
So I liked it because it was new. But then coming from a background where we're always on the go like that in Ghana, because I guess it's because it's just one language we broadcast in. So it's always go, 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 go. It's always fast, 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 fast. Yes. But with African news, you had to take a beat, because even if it's breaking news, you had to get both languages ready to put the story on air. Unless it's breaking news that we are doing live from the studios, then that one, I'm speaking my English, the French person is speaking their French, and we are on at the same time. But if it's something that has to be packaged, then it feels like, there's a bit of a delay in there. And there were a few times where, you know how the news cycle is, story breaks, you start working on it. By the time the English person is done, or by the time the French person is done, there's an update. Especially, unfortunately, stories that bleed, like when there's a plane crash, when people are missing, when there's a disaster,
That's right.
By this report start with 20 people, at least 20 people feared missing or dead. By the time this translation is done and the next person is working on it, at least 30 people, at least 40. So now you have to go back and change that. And sometimes it makes me feel like, oh God, why do we do this story? So there are sometimes when I'm like, I pray that on my shift we don't have a disaster story, because then we'll have to keep updating the story throughout the day. And yeah, but it was fun because it was a new environment, it was a new country. I made new colleagues, but of course there were a few Ghanaians also there. So it kind of weirdly it felt at home.
Wow.
For me,
Yeah. So for you, it's achieved that dual purpose of helping you firm up your spoken French and also giving you a feel of working in a foreign environment.
Yeah.
Wow. And in one word, how would you describe the Congo experience?
I would say it was revealing.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Last December, that is on the 22nd of December, you received the Professional Excellence Award from the Association of Foreign Press Correspondents in America. Tell us about this association and the award.
Okay, so this is an association that I was introduced to by another Ghanaian and a colleague of mine, or actually from Joy. He was one of our original correspondents at the time, Benjamin Tete.
Okay.
And we both came to New York at the same time for school, but he was in NYU, I was at Adelphi. So he told me, he said, there's this association, they give scholarships to international journalists to pursue their master's program. And it's generally just an all-around professional association that I am a member of. Take a look at it, see if you would be interested in joining. So I looked them up and I liked what I saw. So I joined it because I was like, if I still want to practice in America, before even joining them, I had applied to, oh my God, I don't even know how many jobs in the traditional American media. And I always got radio silence from almost all of them. And a few would say, oh, sorry, but we moved on with another candidate.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, okay, there should be a way for me to at least still practice whilst I'm here before I move on to whatever I want to do next. At least just want to gain some experience. And I thought, okay, so the association was the best way to network, to, build some relationships. You never know, because honestly, as I sit here, I don't even know where I'm going to be in 2 years or 5 years. I don't know if I'll still be in America, if I'll be in Europe, if I'll be back in Africa, even if I'll be in Ghana, I don't know. Yeah. So I thought that this was the best way to, develop some relationships so that, let's say I end up in, one of the award recipients was from Brazil. Yes. So let's say I end up in Brazil and I want to work in Brazil. At least I know someone from here. I know a journalist here in America who is a native Brazilian who can tell me also, this is what the Brazilian landscape looks like. If you want to do TV, this is what you should expect. If you want to do radio, this is what you expect. So that is why I joined. And it's been good so far. We've had some great workshop sessions. There was one we had with Jim Acosta from CNN. Okay. There was one we had with, I can't remember his name, but he's one of the pioneering freelancers here in America as well. And he's a teacher too. So he taught us how to be a one-man band, essentially as I am now, because
that's right.
I'm doing multimedia journalism on the side. And if I'm reporting for TV, it's just me filming, editing, doing all that by myself. So it's been great. And the awards, again, I'm a person who doesn't really like awards because I feel like, I know what, I'm not going to win anyway. So why waste my time? I've always been like that. I don't know why. But Benjamin said, no, just give it a shot. What do you have to lose? They are not saying pay an entrance fee or pay to submit. They're just saying submit your work, and if you win, you win. If you don't, nothing to lose there. So I said, okay, whatever, I'll try. And I submitted on the last day.
Whoa.
Typical me, typical Ghanaian. The very last minute. it to submit. And then I ran into a challenge where I uploaded my video, but it wouldn't submit. I needed to click the category, and it was a business story. But when I click business and I'm going to submit, then it vanishes. So it's like I'm submitting a story without a category. So I had to reach out to someone in the association, the executive director, and tell him, I'm trying to submit, but it's not working. And he said, have you tried using a different browser? I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. But he said, so try. If it still doesn't work, just send me your details and the story by email, and we'll consider it submitted. So I changed the browser I was using to a different browser, and thankfully it uploaded, so I was able to submit.
Wow.
And like I said, last minute submission, I was like, oh, I don't know, but I feel like every time I'm doing something for a competition, I'm like, oh, the best ones submitted earlier and they've been considered already. So last minute person, what do you expect? I mean, close your mind. The award is already determined. Forget it. That was what I thought. And I was pleasantly surprised when I got an email saying, oh, you've been selected as one of the winners. Of course, they told me that earlier, but there was an embargo on it, sort of. Not a forced embargo, but it was just saying, oh, you've been selected as one of the winners. But at the time, there was no date for the award ceremony. There was nothing. So I just decided, it's good news enough, but I'll keep it to myself for now until the association itself puts it out. I don't want to overshadow them. So, yeah.
Well, what does such an award mean to you?
It means a lot to me because as someone who tried the CNN Awards like 2-3 times and never, I wasn't even shortlisted. That's why I say that I never really like awards, because you do all those things and you're not selected. And sometimes it makes you second guess yourself. You're like, is it that my work isn't good enough? Or is it that my submission wasn't strong enough? Or maybe I went about it the wrong way? Or maybe my story is not, or maybe my journalism itself sucks. All those things came into play when I said, okay, that's it. I'm leaving Ghana and going to Congo and just...
That is some merciless self-criticism right there.
Well, that's how I am, unfortunately. I think I am my worst critic sometimes because I'm usually optimistic when it comes to everyday things. But when it comes to my work, I am really heartless in criticizing myself.
I see.
So to get a recognition, my first ever journalism award, and it coming from an international body, not just a local chapter, it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. Yeah.
In 5 years.
It shows that
in 5 years, where do you hope to be in 5 years professionally?
Oh, so many places.
you can't be omnipresent, so choose one.
I know, but I try to be, and it works sometimes. Honestly, if I tell you I know where I'll be in 5 years, it will be a lie. I can hope that, because my master's degree program was in creative writing. And it is one of the things I told you that I picked up in a disco in high school. So it's one thing that I've dreamed about for a long time, but haven't really had the chance to work with. So maybe I keep telling myself I'll give myself 1 more year in journalism, and it's been 3 years already in America and I'm still doing it. So who knows? Maybe in 5 years, I'll still be saying, oh, 1 more year in journalism and I quit. But if I'm doing journalism, I hope I get the chance to reach a much wider audience, that I truly get to be an international correspondent for a channel where I get to bring my knowledge of Africa to the rest of the world and get to take my experience in whichever country I am in 5 years. If it's still in America or in Europe or in Asia, I can tell their story from my perspective, so that as someone who's in 2 cultures at once, I can bring a more global understanding to whatever story I'm telling, which is one thing I've been trying to do since I've been here. I look at every story first as an African, how it impacts me, how it impacts other Africans. And then I look at it as, how does it impact the people in the country where the story is happening? And then I think of, okay, so how do you tell this story to the rest of the world? You know, like the last story I did for Zenga, which is a news agency that I freelance for sometimes, that was about the COVID pandemic and the restrictions that came with it when the recently passed, the outgone mayor of New York, de Blasio, came with the restrictions that you have to show proof of vaccination before you can dine in or even work out in a gym or go to an entertainment venue. The first thing I thought was, oh, wait, there are lots of people from Ghana, from Nigeria who keep coming to New York because they have family or they have business. How do I let them know that, listen, this is what's happening? I mean, it's a New York story.
Yes.
Bottom line, it's a New York story because it pertains only to New York. But you see how I was starting to think about it. This is not, it's New York, yes, but it goes beyond New York because people are coming in from London, from wherever around the world to just even be tourists in New York and they will want to dine. So what do I do? How do I tell them this story? And yeah, it's essentially that's how I process stuff. And I've enjoyed doing that. And I hope in 5 years, I'll still be doing that. And even if I decide to branch off into full-time creative writing, I still hope that I can still be a freelance journalist on the side.
Wow. The issue of remuneration in journalism is one that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Now, you have the benefit of taking paychecks in 3 different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
What has the experience been for you? Which is the best? Which is the worst?
Well, I'll say my best so far has been in Congo because I was a full-time employee there.
Oh, okay.
In New York, I've mostly been freelancing. So it's pay as you go, pay per story. So I don't think it would be fair to compare that to Congo or Ghana. But the 2 that I can compare will be Congo and Ghana. And hands down, Congo was my best.
There's a lot of attrition in journalism. So many trained professionals are moving away, moving into different professions. It's either PR or they are doing something entirely unconnected with communications. Are we supposed to be worried? Does it call for worry?
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that question? because you are still in Ghana. I don't know. I would even say, how many of our mates from GIG, there was like, 60, 70 of us? How many of us are still in journalism? Really? Me, you, Thelma, Kingsley,
Abraham. Yes.
Abraham. Nii Akrofi.
I'm not sure we may count up to 20. That is,
out of the class of like 60,
if we are lucky enough to get 10, we may not hit 20.
Exactly. So it's honestly, I don't know how to think about it. I think about it sometimes, and honestly, I can't tell you that I can't blame those who leave the field, honestly, because the pay is not that much. I'll give you an example. When I was at TV, I know people would see me in town when I had my rundown beat car driving around. They'd be like, TV is so good. He's got money. He came to TV and he's driving already. But at the time, I took a car loan from the bank to buy the TV, to buy the car. So my salary was more than 2/3 of my salary was going to pay to pay back the bank, and a third was what I was taking home. And out of the third, you have to buy fuel for the car. You have to maintain the car. You have to feed yourself.
That's a lot.
So it is. So if the pay is increasingly not getting better, I mean, can you fault people for leaving the field? I don't think so. I don't think it will even be fair to do that. If other fields are paying them better, why not? I mean, PR is still communication in a sense. So if they are using their skills to do journalism in a sense, I call that one one-man journalism because they're only telling you the story of the firm. It's just the
That's
firm's
right.
single-sided side of the
Yeah.
story. So it's still journalism, but it's from a very obscure personal perspective. So yeah, they are still communicators, they're still journalists. I really can't blame them. The thing that I'm worried about really outside of the pay is sometimes the quality of work that I see, especially online, because being outside, I don't get to consume the radio and the TV all the time. I can only consume the easiest, of course, is online. You can consume nowadays you can get the radio podcast, you can watch the TV on YouTube, but that's too much work. But sometimes you read an article, for instance, and you're like, okay, so how does the headline connect to the rest of the story? I don't see the connection, Or sometimes you read the story and you finish it and you're like, okay, so what was the story again? What was it supposed to be about? Those are the things that concern me. As for the pay, it's a business. I think it's the business owners need to sit up if they want to have the best professionals stay with them, because we've seen in our generation some of the best leave the business. Yes. Like those I was in the newsroom with, those I looked up to. Akwesi is at BBC right now. Matilda Santi, who was my editor, left. She went to join a bank.
Access Bank, yeah.
Kofi Owusu. Wait, I'm not quite sure where Kofi Owusu is right now. But so you see, like, even my editors at the time have moved on. So I think it's logical for people within my era from radio and TV to also move on if the pay isn't good.
Wow.
So for that, I think the business owners think, oh, we're making business decisions. We're trying to save here, save 2 cents there. It's good. It's all well and good. But remember, these people are also in a contract with you to work for the money. Yes. So if you decide that your profit supersedes their income, which is part of the agreement you have with them, then A, be ready to get substandard work, or B, be ready to see them leave. It's an either-or situation.
Okay. My last question. If we are to roll back the hands of time, would you still choose journalism?
This question. Well, this time around, it was an accident. So would I make a conscious decision of choosing it back with, as they say, hindsight is 2020? I think I probably will. I mean, I just love telling stories. That's me. So if in the next life or the life before this life, I still had the knack for telling stories, I think I wouldn't think twice about choosing journalism. Maybe by that time I would make a conscious decision. And with all the lessons I've learned here, I'd probably also make informed choices in who I work for and also make informed choices when it comes to negotiating how much I get aside.
Yes, yeah.
Because I ran through my time in Ghana without knowing much about, I never thought of it as a business. I only thought of it as, oh, it's my passion, and these people are giving me the chance to put my passion out there and to do what I love. So I really never thought about how much I was paid. I just thought about, oh yeah. It wasn't until I got that car loan and I wasn't getting enough. I was like, oh shit, I made sorry, pardon my French, but I was like, oh wait, I made the wrong decision. I should have bargained better. I should have asked for a more livable wage, if I could put it that way, so that even if I could take a car loan, I can still service the car loan, service the car, and still have enough to live off and not be, thinking twice about, oh, where do I get my money? Which is one thing I've learned here, that now it's not like now I'm doing it only for the money, but here I've realized, like in America, you're paid by the hour. And I call it it's like a talent wage. So I feel my talent is worth $20 an hour. It's worth $30 an hour. We negotiate. And we come to that decision. So
That's right.
if it's not good at the end of the day, I can't blame you, the
Mm.
employer. I blame
Mm.
myself for not having thought it through and, figured out that I need maybe $25, which is like the best case scenario for me or whatever. So yeah, and I think we need to give the upcoming ones some reality checks sometimes. It's good to let them know the theory, but it's also good to let them experience the field. Let them know if that is what they really truly want. Because we often say journalism is a calling, it's passion. It's all true, but that's why we are probably having the attrition you talk about, because they get to the field and they're like, oh yeah, I like it. It's my passion, it's my calling, but I want the money too, and this one doesn't pay. So then he's like, okay, so then that's not what I want to do then, if it doesn't pay. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Anytime.
It's been an exciting discussion with my brother Nii Akrofi Smart-Abbey on PENSDOWN today. One of the things I've realized is that journalists don't like being put on the spot. They are ready to interview anybody and everybody, but putting them on the spot is one thing they will run away from any day. But I think he's been able to give us a number of thoughts about the profession, his ups and downs, the high times, the low moments, and all. We'll be back next time with one more guest on PENSDOWN. On this platform, the journalist is the news, not the news reporter. We are back next time with another guest. Stay tuned.